Welcome to the 4.3 version of the new Knight Scanners control unit. This has got all the features all the other versions had beforehand. Power, mode, speed down, speed up, volume down, volume up, volume both together. You have mute, volume together again, it unmutes, and then the button way over here, which is an option, is going to be for voice projection. Voice projection requires a microphone, and the microphone plugs right there with a 3.5 millimeter jack in the back. This here is a 3.5 millimeter jack, which is amplified, and I'm just using my headphones for that just to hear the sound. MP3 player, microphone board, and then of course the key fob receiver, and a couple other things. The LEDs you're seeing here are just for testing purposes. This LED will come on when the proximity is supposed to give power to the sensor of the proximity sensor. So therefore, there's no more wondering where you're going to wire the sensor up to. It just goes right to the board here through a 6-pin, yes, a 6-pin plug back here. I'm still waiting for the other part of that 6-pin plug to show up. This LED over here is showing just when the fan is getting power, so know when the fan is on. All right, so let's run through the features and what makes this 4.3 a little bit more special than normal. So first of all, we have power, okay? And as you can see, we got the whoosh whoosh going on. Now you only have sound in the first mode, which is kit scan, and then mode 6, which is a mode I came up with called Help Me. You'll see that the fan is on because the unit is on, so it's now exhausting heat out to the back through the fan. Notice that the lights do actually match the sound, and this is the LED version. This is the new version of LED. You'll also notice that with the speed, the LED trail does change. So this is the medium scale. Let's go down to slow. And now you see that there's only a little bit of a trail effect. Let's go to the faster than fast, as fast as this thing will go. And now you see that there's a 4 LED trail. And then go back to the middle, which is like speed 4 or 5. And now you see that it has only 3 trail effects. All right, so that's one big feature with this one. The other big feature, of course, is what the key fob can do. All right, what can the key fob do? So first of all, we got power. Yay, turns on and off. Turn it again, now we got power again. Hit the B button, you got mode. So now here's the opening theme scan. Again, no sound, you only have sound in the first mode for kit scan, and then again for mode 6, which I call Help Me. Now, let's see what else this thing can do. Hit these buttons down here, you will change the speed of the unit. And now you can see that's the slowest speed as I hit it a few times. And then hit it a few more times this way. And again, that'll speed it back up. And so the C and D button is for speed. But what else can this thing do? Again, let's try holding down 2 buttons at once. So let's hold down B and C. If I can do this one-handed. That's right, we have Turbine Sound. The Turbine Sound will only last for approximately 12 to 15 seconds. You heard it ramp up, and then it will ramp down. If I change my mode, you are still hearing the same sound. It does not stop the sound. But if I was to go to mode 1 or mode 6 for Help Me, it will interrupt with the kit scan. So I'm still working out that bug. All right. And now, what does this one do? It's almost impossible. I'm going to do B and D together here.
I'm the voice of Knight Industry 2000's microprocessor, KITT for easy reference, a kit if you prefer.
There you go. So there we have why I redesigned it. So now we actually can do button combinations, and now we have MP3 playback. But there's also a proximity sensor on this thing, right? Prox mode. So let's turn it off. And I can hold down prox here. Now watch what happens when I hold down prox here. So I hold down the mode button, and now we have prox. Notice just the red light flashed, nothing happened here. Again, we have the light on, indicating now that the shock sensor, or not shock sensor, I'm sorry, the microwave sensor is getting power for the proximity sensor. And of course the fan is on, so it's actually exhausting heat while it's off. And it will trigger again with one of the wires there on the back, which I don't have right now. If I hold this down, it also turns off the mode button. I mean, sorry, not mode button, but holding down the mode button turns off the proximity sensor. So let's turn it back on. And what else turns this off? Hitting the power button. Hitting the power button, turning the unit back on, also turns off the proximity sensor, or prox mode. Let's turn it off. But watch what happens if I hold down C and D here. Notice that these two LEDs came on. That is only when it's triggered by the key fob. That is to give you, the user, the outside the car who can see the scanner bar, indicated that you are now in prox mode. All right. So again, we're in prox mode. Again, the fan's on, and then the power to the microwave sensor is on. Turn it off. And yes, you see me holding it down for a while. And again, those two lights came on again, indicating that now the power is off, or the proximity mode is off. And what's another way of turning the prox mode off? Back here in part of the 6-pin, there's a yellow wire. The yellow wire is supposed to be hooked up to a vehicle ignition. So when the key is on, it will send power to this unit, and that will also turn off the proximity mode. And that is the purpose of that, is simply when the car is moving, the prox mode is not on. The last thing you want is your car with the red light going back and forth while you're driving down the road, street, avenue, whatever you want to call it, thoroughfare, and the cop sees you and he wants to pull you over. But don't worry, the red light will still work normally with the power button, and you will still have normal operation if you wanted to. Even if the key is on, that will not stop. All right, it only stops the prox. So here we go. And that's about it. I mean, without the plug back here, I really can't show you too much. Again, this is the microphone. So when I hold this button down, I have to hold it, speak into the microphone, and it will come out the speaker, the same speaker that is for your kit sound from the unit. So therefore, there is no extra speakers. The 6 wires in the back, there are, again, 6 wires, and I have their purposes right there. So let me turn off the unit so the green light goes off there. And now we got wire 1 is for the prox sensor input, which is from the shock sensor. Pin 2 is the voice projection trigger. So not only can you hold this button down, even with the unit off, you can still see it. You can still have voice projection even with the unit off. Not this off. This is the master off. You turn this off, you've now disabled this thing completely, and this will not work, honestly, because the amplifier is not getting power. So even though lights are on, it won't get power. See, look at this. Power button, nothing happening. It's at the remote, nothing's happening. It's dead as a doornail. Turn that back on. All right. So what's the other wires? 3, proximity sensor ground. So this is nothing more than the black wire ground to the sensor. 4 is vehicle ignition. I already told you about that. When the key is on, it's the vehicle ignition wire. 5 is the prox voltage output. That's what gives power to the unit. That is a red wire. And then number 6 here is the power button. So if you have a button, your steering pod, upper console, lower console, whatever you want, because this is out of reach maybe, you can actually use that wire, which will be gray. And that gray wire will allow for you to do a simple turn on, just like that, or a turn off. That's what it does. It just, whatever it is, just send a ground pulse to it from a pulse switch. And those wires, colors are right there. I put that on the unit as well. And as always, this is a completely removable face panel. This face panel can be sold separately with an extension ribbon cable, so you can actually take this out of the enclosure and relocate it somewhere in the car. So you can put this on the passenger side of the dash, have a 5, 6, 7, 8 foot cable. You just tell Knight Scanners what size you want, and then you can remount this wherever you want. This does come with a faceplate. It says surveillance mode, buttons are accessible. So it really looks authentic to the show. I'm sure there's photos out of it because this is a prototype. I do not have an enclosure to demonstrate that for you. But that's it. In a nutshell, a good 11 and a half minutes of good information. Take care.